Okay, so I'm going to cover the unique function and the sort function, and then how the sort function and the unique function can be nested together to provide a sorted list of the values that the unique function retrieves. Both of these functions are new in Office 365. They didn't exist in earlier versions of Excel. Prior to the introduction of these functions, you would have to manipulate the data manually without using functions to automate the process. So you'd have to make manual selections. You would have to use this tool in the data tab in the data tools group, remove duplicates. If you didn't want duplicate records to be included in your data. Whereas now we can use the unique function to extract all of the values that only occur once. And you would have to use the remove duplicates function in combination with the sort tool that you can find in the sort and filter group of the data tab. So you could achieve exactly the same result, but it's easier now that we have named functions that we can leverage instead to automate the process for us. And there's a couple of advantages to using these named functions. In your MOS exam, you're likely to be asked to use the unique or the sort function. You're unlikely to be asked to use both of them together, but I do appreciate that in the LinkedIn Learning Cert Prep course, you're asked to use the unique function and the sort function and combine them into a nested function. The file that I'm working within is the Microsoft provided practice project number 1. It's the file that most groups this semester were introduced to last week. And then this week we looked at the project 2 file in class in some groups. So I'm working in the flower sales worksheet. One of the questions in this practice project asks you to target column B with the unique function and extract a list of unique values from that column. So we have a number of records. They're all unique records, but I'll prove that to you in a minute. And we've got 94 of them. So there are 94 records in this table. And we've got the flower names, we've got the regions, and then we've got presumably sales numbers across 5 years. I don't really care about the sales numbers. The question in the practice project asks you to extract just a list of the unique regions. But in order to do that, prior to the introduction of the unique function, it would have been difficult. You would have had to manually manipulate the data, whereas the unique function can look at the data, it can leave the original data intact, and then it can extract a list of the unique values for you and paste it somewhere else. So I don't really want to work with 94 records. So I think what I'm going to do is, how many is this? This is the first 20 records. So I'm going to select the rest of them and going to delete those rows out. So I'm only looking at 20 records. And I think I'm also going to get rid of the numerical data as well. And I'm going to leave the flower column and the region column in this file. None of these rows contain duplicate values. All of the values in column A are unique. They're all individual. They've got different text strings in them. But in column B, the regions that are listed do repeat. And so Asia is listed once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. North America is listed once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. And then Europe is listed once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And so in column B, we do have, in a vacuum, if we were only looking at column B, we do have text values that repeat in those rows. Now, in the original arrangement of data with the sales records and the flour column in column A, we don't have any duplicate records. I know that because if I go to the data tab and I try and use this remove duplicates tool, and I tell it you can evaluate across both columns, it tells me that no duplicate values have been found, which is correct because it's looking at records. It's looking at the actual rows themselves across multiple columns. If I only asked it to evaluate column B and I didn't give the remove duplicates tool access to column A, and I said, look at column B, remove duplicate values, it would remove most of these records. And it would leave a single entry for Asia, a single entry for North America, a single entry for Europe, which is exactly what's going to happen with the unique function. But if it's evaluating across multiple columns, then there are no duplicate values because they're all unique from one another. Yes, the value in the region column repeats in different rows, but it's a record that's read horizontally across multiple columns. And in the other columns, there are unique values. Those values don't repeat. And so the goal of the unique function is to effectively give us the same answer that we would get from the remove duplicates tool. But rather than interacting with the original arrangement of data, and so rather than directly affect the table that we're working with, and this is our source data, we want to extract a list of unique values and paste them. In this example, in my file now, it's going to be a list that starts in D2. And we should only get 3 text values. So D2, D3, and D4 will be populated by Asia, North America, and Europe if we target column B using the unique function. Now, the unique function has 3 arguments, but only one of them is required to perform that task. If you're evaluating across multiple columns, then maybe you want to use the second or the third argument. And so I'll demonstrate this a couple of different ways. At a base level, the unique function only requires the array argument to be populated. You can see that it's bold. The other 2 are not bold. They've got default behavior. And so they will trigger behavior if there's nothing in them, they're left empty. We'll read the description for them in a minute. But we don't need to populate them to satisfy the criteria of the question that we're being asked, which is to extract a list of unique regions from column B. We're not evaluating the entire table. We're only evaluating the values in a single column. And so the array argument, the description for it is the range or array from which we want to return unique rows or columns. And so this is going to be a selection of cells. In this case, it's going to be column B in this table. So it's going to be column 2 in this table, where you want to make the extraction from. We're only going to provide the tool with access to column B. because that's what the question says in the project file instructions. But you could give it all of the data in the table. Whichever cells you provide it, so whichever columns of data you provide the array tool, is how you're going to get your answer. So if I provide it with both column A and column B, the result that I'm going to get that's pasted into D2 through D4 will actually have values in E2 through E4 as well. It'll be a 2-column answer, which isn't what we were asked to do in the instructions. You're only asked to target column B. But if you provide it with multiple columns as the source data, it will provide you with multiple columns of data as your answer. So we're going to target column B here. And so in the array argument, if I give it the values that are in column B, you'll see it targets table 2. So this table must be labeled as table 2 in this file. And then in brackets, it says it's the region column. And you can see it has access to the values in that range. And you can already see that it gives you a preview of what the values are, and it's just reading from top to bottom in this column. And so it says Asia, North America, Europe, North America. Well, that's how the values are being listed in this column. It says Asia, North America, Europe, North America. The tool doesn't yet know exactly what we want as our answer. We've just provided it with a list of where the data can be found. The default behavior, if you only provide the unique column with access to data in the array argument, is to extract only unique values. So the answer that it will give you is one instance of every value found in that column. It would be like removing duplicate values from that array. And you can see the preview answer in the function displays. The array argument goes off the function dialog box. There are too many values to list horizontally. So it shows you a preview of the first few, but not all of them. And the preview answer with the array argument populated can be seen in brackets at the bottom. And it says it's going to provide us with an answer that's going to list Asia, North America, and Europe. Even though Asia occurs 8 times, North America occurs 6 times, Europe occurs 6 times, in the arrangement of data that I've provided it with in the region column, it's only going to extract one instance of each of those values. It's not going to repeat them. So at a base level, and for your MOS exam, if you're asked to use the unique function, it's very likely you're only going to need to populate the array argument. You're very unlikely going to need to use the by column and the exactly once arguments. But before I click OK to enter Asia, North America, and Europe into D2 through D4 as my answer, I am just going to click on these fields. These are logical arguments. And so it says, but the by column argument within this function is a logical value, and it compares rows against each other and returns the unique values. And it says that's what it will do if you enter false into this argument, and false can be entered as the text value false, so you could literally just type false into that argument, or it could be entered as 0. True is 1, false is 0. So you could enter a numerical value instead. And it says false or omitted. So if you leave it empty, that's what it's going to do. It's going to compare the rows in our selection against one another, and it's only going to return the unique rows. And so we're leaving this argument empty, but we would get an identical answer if we typed 0 in that argument. You could populate it, but if you populate it with anything other than 0, it's going to do something different. The alternative is to compare columns against each other and return the unique columns. And we've only selected a single column of data. And so nothing is going to happen, even if we put number 1 in there to say true, or put the text true in that argument. It won't do anything because it's only evaluating a single column of data. This function can be used to extract unique rows or unique columns of data. And so our arrangement of data is that these records are in rows. They're not in columns. The values in each record are separated out by column, but the records themselves are read in rows. And so the only thing that makes sense to put here is either nothing, the word false, or 0, and they will all do the same thing. They're going to retrieve one instance of each value that's listed in that column, and that's it. If we were to put 1 in there or the word true, nothing would happen because it's not evaluating multiple columns. We're evaluating in rows. The third argument, it says it's a logical value that returns rows or columns that occur exactly once from the array. And it says if you want that to happen, then you should type true in there or the number 1. And we're going to leave it blank. And so it says it returns all distinct rows or columns from the array. And it says false or omitted. So we can leave it empty. We can type false in, or we could put 0. We're going to leave it empty. And so the answer that we get is Asia, North America, and Europe, which is good. We don't have any other values in this array, and we don't want to see duplicates of these values. But underneath, what I'll do is I'll use the unique function again, and we'll give it this column, the region 2 column. Can't use the by column argument because we're not comparing multiple columns against each other. And so we're going to have to leave this empty anyway, or put false or 0 in there. But exactly once is an argument that we could populate. And it says it's a logical value. It returns rows or columns that occur exactly once, or all distinct rows or columns from the array. It's false or omitted. Now we're only giving the unique function access to a single column of data. So if I do put true in here, it doesn't have anything to compare against. And so I don't get an answer. I get a calc error. If we modify this formula and say, rather than evaluate column B alone, instead evaluate the entire range of data. So it doesn't tell me which columns, it just says all of table 2. We've given it. So in column E, it does repeat North America, Asia, and Europe, which is fine, because this North America record is different to this North America record, is different to this North America record, is different to these North America records. These are records of data, so Excel is now evaluating multiple columns. And just because the same text value occurs multiple times in one column doesn't mean that it's a unique record, or duplicate records, rather, because I've targeted column A now as well, and all of the values in column A are unique from one another, which means all of these records are unique from one another in rows. Let me undo that. So if I say the entire table, so 2 columns of data, and then if I leave this empty, I'm going to get the same answer, right? We put 0 in, gives us the same answer. There are no duplicate records. If we introduce some duplicate records, so let me narrow this down to step 5 to 10. I think that's 10 to 10 records, like this. Now I'm looking at less data. If I duplicate some of these records to demonstrate that it will actually extract only the unique records if we give it multiple columns of data and unique and duplicate records exist. So I'm going to select this drumstick and I'm going to copy it down once. I'm going to select this one, this record, and I can't just do the first column. I'm going to have to copy them down so that across both columns there are duplicate values. And if I do this one as well. All right. In this range now, only row number 2, row number 3, row number 6, and row number 11 occur once. The other rows have duplicates in them. And so if I use the unique function and tell the function you can look at both of the columns in this table, I don't need to use the by column argument, but we could use this one. If I leave it empty, so it's false, so if I leave it omitted, it's going to return all distinct rows or columns from the array. And so I get an answer that shows me all of the unique rows, but it extracts the duplicate from it. So it doesn't, it's given me row 2, row 3, row 4, but only one instance of row 4. It doesn't give me the second instance where it repeats. It's given me row 6, row 7, doesn't give me row 8, where the value from row 7 repeats. It gives me row 9. It doesn't give me row 10 because that's the same values as row 9, and it gives me row 11. So it's given me those values as my answer. If I don't want that, and instead what I want is occurs exactly once, and then this is just all distinct rows. What did I do before? Did I put in there? I left it empty. So now if we say it's true in that last argument, and give it all of the data and then say it's true, then it gives me a shorter list. It only gives me the rows that aren't repeated. So 2, 3, 6, and 11. The other rows repeat. And so because they repeat and they occur more than once, it doesn't extract them for me. It only shows me the rows of data that only occur once. And so in order to do this prior to the introduction of the unique function, you would have to remove duplicate values and then manipulate the data and probably do multiple passes of the data. And it's awkward. Now that the unique function exists, not only can we compare columns against each other, which the remove duplicates tool can't do. It can only remove duplicate records in rows. The unique function can do both. It can do rows and columns, but it also gives you more flexibility in terms of what answer you want from it. If you want to include all values, but you don't want to include any duplicates, then you can get that answer by omitting the second and the third argument. If you want only the records that occur just once, and if any records occur more than once, you don't want them to be included in your extraction, then you can use the third argument and say that it's true, and that's what it will do. It'll only retrieve records that occur exactly once. Any that occur more than once won't be included in the extraction. So it provides more flexibility. Now, what we would normally do to manipulate this data, if you wanted it to be an ordered list, is you would select the data, come to the data tab, and then in the sort and filter group, you would use the sort function. This data is not in a table, so if I have both columns selected, it says you can't change part of an array. Okay, if I have the first column selected and try and sort it, it says you can't change part of an array. If I come back to the original data, this is in a table. What most people would do is interact with this tool and access sort from here. And then obviously it will sort the answer for me. You'll see when I sorted the source values in the table, it sorts the answer values in my extracted list. What you're asked to do in if I just repeat that, you'll see that both columns in the extraction are sorted. So it keeps the correct records. All right, so all the data stays in the same row, but it gets manipulated into a sorted list. What you're asked to do in LinkedIn Learning is nest the unique function inside the sort function. The sort function does exactly the same job as the sort tool, or sort and filter and then the sort button. And so if I have a single column selected and I click sort, it sorts all the values in the table. So it sorts all the records in the table by whatever column I've got selected. If I come into the sort tool, I can select which column to sort by, and then I can tell it what order to sort. A to Z, Z to O. The sort tool, or rather the sort function that's been introduced, does exactly the same thing. And so if I use it here on its own, it has an array argument. So the array is where is the data that you want to include in your answer. It has a sort index argument, which is like going into the sort tool and then using the column drop down to tell the sort tool which column to sort by. And it can be a numerical value that indicate that. So column A here, flower, would be column number 1, column B would be column number 2. Or you could give it access to the entire table, and then in sort index you could use flower, or you could type region and it would sort by that column. It's just like selecting from the drop down list in the sort tool. The sort order will do ascending or descending, and it's 1 or -1 depending on which way you want to view the answers. And then the by column argument repeats from the unique function. We have the same argument available to us in the unique function, and it says it's a logical value that indicates in this function the desired sorting direction. So false to sort by rows, which is the default, and true to sort by columns. We're not interested in that in this particular example. We don't really have enough data to worry about it. The default value here, that the argument that you need to use in this function, the only argument that you have to use is the array argument. It's the only one that's bold. And so if I say, if I give it access to this list, which is table 2, you can see what's going to happen in the preview. It extracts all of the cells, because this is not the unique function. So it can only work with the data that you provide to it. And that's the answer that it will provide back to you, but it will provide it in a sorted list. And so they repeat. Asia occurs 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Europe occurs 4 times. North America occurs twice in this range. And so that's what it extracts for us. But what we could do is we could apply the sort function to these lists up here. So if I apply the sort function to the answer that my unique function gave me, the answer, if it was A to Z, would be Asia, Europe, North America, so AEN. Okay. Now I could select this array and ask it to sort in the tool, but because it's not in a table and the answer that my unique function gives me is based on other data, it won't let you do that. And so you could copy this and paste as values only to remove the function. So now this is just the text value in the cells, and then you could sort it. That would be fine. But if you wanted to keep the unique function in that column, in those cells, and you don't want to get rid of the unique function, then what you would have to do is position your insertion point before the unique function. So after the equals, but before the unique function runs, and then type sort and open parentheses, and then add an additional parentheses at the end to wrap the unique function inside the sort function. The sort function will look at the values that the unique function resolves to, which are just these text values here. And it's going to sort them A to Z, which is the default if you only populate the first argument. If I click within the sort part, the text for sort in this nested formula now, and then open up the function dialog box, it will take me to the sort function. You can see that the unique function is now embedded in the array argument of the sort function, and the answer that the data that it's evaluating is listed as Asia, North America, and Europe. So it's not alphabetical. And so if I wrap it in the sort function, the answer that the unique function resolves to is going to become Asia, Europe, North America, which would be sorted. If for some reason, when you're working with nested functions, you want to step into the function dialog box for the function that you have nested inside another function, then in the formula bar, you just click within the text name of that function. So right now I'm in the sort dialog box. If I click on the unique part of this nested function in the formula bar, it will take me to the unique dialog box, and you can step between like that just by clicking, and it will give you the other dialog box. So if I hit enter, it takes the answers that couldn't be sorted by using the sort tool in the data tab, and it arranges them in the order A to Z. And so in LinkedIn Learning, that's what Jennifer McBee was doing. She was taking the answer that one function, in this case, the unique function, resolves to. And so it's that they were text values, and then she's sorting them. She's having them sort A to Z. Okay. You could do it the other way around, but it wouldn't make any difference. So this is sort and then unique. You could do unique and then sort. Let me do it here. Let's take these back out. If I was to do, let me take this array out. as well, so that I've got more space here. Underneath, I will use the sort function, and I will say, use these values and extract for me the same values, but in an ordered list like this. That's the answer that the sort function resolves to. I could then target this range of cells and say, I want you to provide me only the unique values. So this is unique and then sort, and it'll provide me with exactly the same answer. The sort function takes the original list of data, doesn't remove any duplicate records, and it puts it into an ordered list. But then you can wrap it in the unique function to say, okay, take that ordered list and give me only the unique values. Or you could do it the other way around. You could target a range of data with the unique function, which removes the duplicates, and then you could wrap it in the sort function to say, take the values that the unique function has given me as the answer and then sort them. So you can do it either way. This is sort and then unique. This is unique and then sort. And so it's the opposite way around, but it provides you with the exact same answer. The same steps are happening in both functions. All right. Hopefully, in your MOS exam, you only get unique or sort, and you don't need to nest them. But if you do, it's this simple. It's this straightforward.